Okay, you are probably not going to believe this one.
What's happened?
A legal decision just landed in Australia, and it's really sending some shockwaves, especially in the crypto world.
Oh, really? What is it?
We're talking about a Victorian magistrate who's basically said Bitcoin. It's a form of property.
Okay. Property isn't totally new, is it?
But get this. He said it's property like the Australian dollar.
Like currency.
Exactly. And it involves 81.6 Bitcoin, which, today is worth over 13 million Australian dollars.
Wow. Okay, so like currency. What does that actually mean in practice?
Well, that's the fascinating bit, right? The core of the ruling.
Mm-hmm.
This magistrate decided that when it comes to capital gains tax, CGT, the tax on profits from assets.
Yeah, standard for investments.
Right. He's saying transacting with Bitcoin should be treated, well, pretty much like using regular Aussie dollars.
So potentially exempt from CGT.
That seems to be the implication, which is huge.
Okay, yeah, that is huge.
So for this deep dive, we're going to unpack what this pretty unexpected ruling actually means.
Oh, good.
We've got a news article covering the details. And our mission, really, is to figure out, what could this do to crypto tax in Australia?
All right, let's get into it. So what's the story behind this? What case led to this?
Yeah, okay, so the ruling actually came out of a criminal case.
Oh.
It involved a former Australian federal police officer, William Wheatley.
Right, I think I heard something about this. He was accused of stealing Bitcoin.
That's the one, 81.6 Bitcoin back in 2019.
Okay.
So while the main charge was about the theft, this question about the fundamental nature of Bitcoin, what is it legally, became like a central point.
So the definition of Bitcoin was key to the criminal case itself.
Seems like it. And we have to remember the context here. In 2019, that Bitcoin was worth around AUD $492,000.
This is a lot, but...
But nothing like today, over 13 million now. That massive jump just shows how much is actually riding on this definition, doesn't it?
It really does. Huge difference. And it probably helps explain why the magistrate, Michael O'Connell, went into such detail.
So what was his reasoning exactly? He said it's like dollars, not gold or shares.
Yeah, precisely. He stated, quite clearly he thought, that Bitcoin is a form of property, yes, but, and this is the key bit, more akin to Australian dollars than it is to gold or shares.
Okay, why? What makes it like currency in his view?
Well, presumably things like how you can, divide it easily, carry it around digitally, and how some places actually accept it for payment. It acts like money in some ways.
Unlike gold, which is mostly just held, or shares, which represent ownership.
Exactly. He seems to focus on that transactional aspect.
And he really doubled down on this, didn't he? There's that quote.
Yeah, the one where he basically dismisses the idea it's not like money yet.
That's it. He said, I find the argument that cryptocurrency has not yet reached a state that is comfortably analogous to a form of money unpersuasive.
Pretty direct. So, in his view, Bitcoin's basically graduated to being a form of money, or close enough.
And legally, he put it in the box of other intangible property.
Which is a crucial legal term. It implies certain rights, like the right to transfer it, its economic value, things that traditionally define property.
Even though it's digital and decentralized?
Apparently, he felt it met enough of the criteria, which leads us straight to the conflict zone.
Right. The Australian Taxation Office, the ATO.
Yeah, because this ruling flies directly in the face of their position.
For how long have they had that position?
Since 2014.
Since 2014, yeah. The ATO has consistently said Bitcoin is an asset subject to capital gains tax. You profit, you potentially pay tax. Simple as that.
Until now, maybe. This magistrate's ruling just sort of throws a huge wrench in the works for the ATO.
It absolutely does. If this view holds up, it completely changes the game for Bitcoin taxation in Australia.
And could mean refunds. I saw a number mentioned. A big number.
A very big number. Adrian Partland, he's a tax lawyer involved in the case, suggested it could be up to $1 billion Australian dollars in potential CGT refunds. $1 billion. Wow. For people who paid CGT on Bitcoin.
That's the idea. Cartland put it pretty bluntly. He said, the reasoning totally upends the ATO's view because it was held that Bitcoin is Australian money.
So not a CGT asset anymore.
That is, it is not a CGT asset. Therefore, acquisitions and disposals of Bitcoin have no tax consequences. That's his interpretation of the ruling's logic.
Okay, so if this ruling survives, anyone who paid CGT on Bitcoin disposals after 2019.
That specific time frame, yeah, from 2019 onwards.
Might be looking at getting that tax back.
Potentially, yes. It would be massive for Bitcoin holders who've been paying CGT.
But Adrian Cartland also raised some wider concerns, didn't he? Beyond just Bitcoin.
He did. He sort of flagged this slippery slope idea. If Bitcoin gets treated like property akin to currency, what about other digital things?
Like what? Points in video games.
He mentioned points in Space Invaders, kind of jokingly maybe, but also things like likes on Instagram. Or, where do you draw the line?
That's a tricky one. Could create inconsistencies.
Definitely. And he used that analogy. What was it? Love and affection are valuable, and so are services, but they are not property.
Right. Just because something has value doesn't automatically make it property in the legal sense, especially not property treated like currency for tax. It shows how complex this is, especially with digital stuff.
Exactly. Where are the legal boundaries in this digital world? The magistrate focused on Bitcoin's specific traits.
The ones he felt made it like currency.
Yeah. But the whole digital asset space is so diverse. Applying one ruling broadly is, well, probably not going to work easily.
Okay, but hang on. Before everyone rushes off to calculate their potential refund, this isn't actually settled yet, is it?
Not at all. Crucial point here. William Wheatley, the defendant in the original case,
Yeah.
he and his lawyers have actually appealed this ruling.
Appealed the bit saying Bitcoin is property. That seems counterintuitive if it helps avoid tax.
Well, the legal strategy in a criminal case can be complex. But yes, they are appealing the Bitcoin is property finding.
Okay, so it's heading to a higher court.
Eventually. But it's likely going to take a while. The appeal probably won't even be heard until late 2025.
Late 2025. So we're in limbo until then.
Pretty much. A long period of uncertainty.
And just to be crystal clear, even if the appeal fails and the magistrate's ruling is upheld,
Yeah,
it only applies to Bitcoin, right? Not Ethereum, not NFTs, not anything else.
that's the understanding. Specific to Bitcoin.
And only for transactions from 2019 onwards.
Correct. It wouldn't suddenly rewrite tax history for trades made before that. The scope is quite narrow, even if it survives.
Okay. So still significant, but maybe not the complete crypto tax revolution some might hope for immediately.
Exactly. It's a fascinating development, but the legal landscape for digital assets is still very much under construction.
Right. So let's kind of wrap this up. We've got this really surprising legal curveball from Australia.
A magistrate challenging the tax office's fundamental view on Bitcoin.
Yeah, suggesting it's more like money than an investment asset for CGT purposes, which could potentially lead to big changes, big refunds.
But it's all up in the air because of the appeal, which won't be sorted for possibly another year and a half or more.
And the conflict here, the court versus the tax authority, really highlights how unsettled this all is, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It shows how legal and regulatory systems are, frankly, struggling to keep up with financial innovation.
Yeah.
We don't have clear, universally agreed rules for this stuff yet.
That makes you think, doesn't it? And maybe leaves you, the listener, with this thought. If Bitcoin's status is being questioned like this, what other digital assets might be next? Could we see legal challenges reevaluating, I don't know, in-game economies, digital collectibles, stable coins?
That's the big question, isn't it? And how will a decision like this, whatever the final outcome, influence other countries? Everyone's watching everyone else, trying to figure out the right way to handle crypto.
Definitely uncharted territory. The law is playing catch-up.